Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Well, women have law, that's maternity leave, and men, by law, have nothing equivalent. And last week, in his budget debate presentation in Parliament, the leader of the opposition again raised the issue of legislating paternity leave. Are Jamaicans and are Jamaican men in particular ready for paternity leave? If this becomes a reality, what kind of conditions should there be? Well, to answer these and other related questions, we have online so far Pastor Courtney Morrison, the chair of Men of God Against Violence and Abuse. That's MOGAVA, Magava, and the co-host of the Mailbox. And we also have online Mr. David Wan, president of the Jamaica Employers Federation. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Yes, good to have you both with us. Well, the issue of paternity leave has become the subject of parliamentary discussion and public debate for a number of years. What are your respective views on the matter? Begin with you, Mr. Wan.
Yes. The discussions on paternity leave, as you have said, has been on for a few years. And in general, we support the concept of the paternity leave. However, the devil is in the details, as we've always said. Mm-hmm. It's going to take some amount of working through the details, because there are some issues in the Jamaican context that need to be resolved. So in general, we favor the discussion, and we are in support, because we want to see the details that it's now being discussed in Parliament. So let us see what emerges out of that. As a quick example, should there be unlimited paternity leave for men? Because
unlimited paternity leave for men.
I'm saying, should there be unlimited paternity leave?
Yes.
A woman in the case, she reaches a childbearing age at a certain point in time, and for men it can extend much longer. So for the employers, should this be open-ended all the way through, retirement? That's just one of the questions. The details of how do we make it so it's equitable for both sides.
So in
That's
terms
an example.
of sorry, Mr. Wan, in terms of maternity leave, what is the law?
You're allowed a certain amount of leave after the childbirth, and there's no maximum for a lifetime.
Also, it's unlimited.
It is basically unlimited, but we know what the limited factor is.
Uh-huh.
It's age and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to get to a system where there's a mandatory notation of the father on the birth certificate, because there needs to be some way of validating claims of paternity leave. Because as we know, in many cases, I'm looking at one right now, there's no notation of the father on the birth certificate. Issues like those.
Yes. Okay. Pastor Morrison, your take?
Good morning again, everyone.
Yes.
This has been discussion for a couple of years, as Mr. Wan says, and as such, we're looking at it. I remember there was an interview once with Reverend Jason Down, and I think Mr. Wan was there too. And we have had some up by university with Paho. And we do have companies in Jamaica, limited as they are, that do extend 2 weeks paternity leave to our men. But as Sir Wan says, the devil is in the details, especially for men who have multiple, for want of a better term in Jamaica, baby mothers. How would that be regulated if he has, let's say, that, and I can speak about my father, my brothers, for 3 different ladies were born in the same month. How do you legislate that? How would you also determine, would we have to do DNA tests? Because we know who the mothers are. Um, would there be something that one has to sign as to say this is the father? Because we also know of paternity fraud in Jamaica, what we tend to call jacket. And so there are a number of concerns as to how to implement, how to have it. But the concept of itself, for me, is one that I think is necessary. Because the bond between the child as well as and fathers are also nurturers. I don't agree with the concept that says only mothers are nurturers. Fathers are nurturers. My God is represented as father, and he's a nurturer. In his arms, he takes the child and he rocks the child and sings over the child. I've had 4 for myself, so I did that when they were growing up. And so that bond, and I got, well, at the time I was working with my father, my youngest child is 24 years old, and every time my wife was in the hospital having children, and every one of them were a C-section, I spent 2 weeks at home with her and the child, helping to ensure that, where she had that cut, that it would heal. And even I would leave work early weeks after, so to ensure that she is well. And so the concept itself, brilliant, awesome, necessary, I believe, in most cases, but also we have to ask ourselves the question, in a Jamaican culture, how would we ensure that it is not abused? And as Mr. Wan says, the limits, not just in terms of age, but in terms of how it is administered, is a big question.
Yeah. Mr. Wan, I'm wondering, why has it taken so long? I mean, I'm of the belief that if you were to have a vox pop, if you were to do a poll for the nation, most people perhaps would be in favor of it, or let me say many. Why is it that it has taken so long, Mr. Wan?
As with any legislation, it can take some time because there's debate on both sides. There's also the procedure and the process by which a bill is tabled, and the issue of the Parliamentary Council, developing the wording and all that. These things can take time. And in some cases, my experience is that if it is not, call it a life-threatening event, such as the disaster risk management, sometimes you don't find that alacrity in the development of this legislation. I think one of the things that can speed that up is if the interest groups can keep making the case and keep lobbying, because the government, my experience, is that they will listen to feedback, and if there's enough lobbying, I think they will listen. But I think the lobby that is pushing for this needs to be more frequent and be louder.
Mr. Pastor Morrison, what's your take on that?
I agree to a great extent, because even with the passage of maternity leave for women, it took some time for that to happen as well. But I want to also commend again the companies who are forerunners and pioneers in this in Jamaica. In certain parts of the world, I am trying to remember which country, if it is Japan, men get 3 months. Men get a month. They get at least 2 months. In some countries, based on what I have seen and what I've heard, that the men themselves are allowed this time.
Yeah, Pastor, I'm so sorry. We're going to take a quick break and be right back.
You're tuned to Love 101, the family station. It's now 7:15.
Serve! Give me a pack of water crackers, Miss G. No, not the dear one. You think me have money for you? Give me national water crackers. National water crackers taste good and it costs less.
Yes, Miss G. Give your customers National Water Crackers, Jamaica's own, Jamaica's best water crackers.
Did you sell prime? Brought a plan, now the people them start a plan. That a whole heap of service, we know you want. One heap of gigabytes, YouTube, music, sports and movies. Extra talk time in a one. Everything you want, and what's fun to the new 7-day Digicel Prime brought a bundle.
Get it all when you activate the new 7-day Digicel Prime brought a bundle in the My Digicel app. Limited time offer.
Everything you want, and what's fun to the new 7-day Digicel Prime brought a bundle.
Now more than ever, Protex reminds you to wash your hands. A 40-second hand wash with soap could help prevent COVID-19. Look for Protex at your nearest store.
As more and more people stay in, you need to bring your business to your customers. And Sagicor Bank makes that easier with Swipe. Equip your delivery staff with the Sagicor Bank Swipe Terminal and accept debit and credit card payments almost anywhere. Apply online for Swipe today at sagicor.com. Sagicor Bank, helping you change the way you do business with Swipe, supporting growth, supporting Jamaica.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and we're discussing the renewed call for paternity leave legislation. And we have online Mr. David Wan, President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, and the Pastor Courtney Morrison, Chair of Men of God Against Violence and Abuse. Pastor Morrison, you're making a point in regards to why it's taking so long?
Yes. As I said, even for maternity leave, it took some time. Mm-hmm. Maternity leave is, in our minds, a new concept, but there are countries out there who have already done it and been giving a month. So they can be used as examples. The research can be done to see how best it fits our culture. But as I said, there's part of our culture that is unique, I would say, in some ways, as the multiplicity of mothers that a man will have in a relationship. For example, and I can use my dad. My dad, I'm aware of 5 different families. He was married. There's my mother. There was 2 other mothers that I'm aware of, and one in the States. And one of the things, therefore, is how then would you exercise either control, exercise for the employer, this one man in one company with 4 different baby mothers? The employers have to consider now, how do we do that? How do we legislate that? How do we give compensation? Yes or no? How long? And so those are some of the considerations that I believe are being given, yet they have to be considered in such a way and worked out in details, lest the abuses, as I would think, of this paternity leave would become a reality. And so all those concerns, I think, are causing a delay in making this a reality. But nonetheless, I believe it's something that we should start, something we should do, even if we're starting, as some companies here are doing, 2 weeks. But again, what does a company do if a husband and wife is working for the same company, Mr. One, and they go off at the same time? How would the company deal with that as an employer?
Yeah. And as you alluded to a while ago, if the two pregnancies are concurrent with 2 different ladies, is that one paternity leave, and if they're born at the same time?
Yes.
Is that one paternity leave or 2, or do you pay one and let him have vacation and pay him for the other? These are the kinds of details you have to work out.
You know, and think of it. What that man now would have to either split his time between both, and
right.
And I'm sure that would be a concern for the mothers too. You know, we know the situation in our own Jamaican context. I didn't find out that I had brothers until I was in 3rd form at Kingston College.
And I don't think that's an unusual situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some regard, yes.
All these different ramifications, I believe, being considered in our own culture is what will cause a problem. I said, who knows, probably the issue of paternity fraud, as I said, what we call jacket, is that my child? How do we determine the truth
gentlemen, the whole thing, some people argue that the whole thing is really ironic and yet still symptomatic because in the parliament, the majority of parliamentarians are male, right? And couldn't it be argued that that is part of the reason that on one hand, it's amazing that the majority of parliamentarians are male, but on the other hand, could this be because of certain inhibitions and concerns on their part as men? Pastor Morrison?
I'm not sure if that is being considered, I'm not sure if that's being considered, but it is something that we could think about and look at as though it is presented, the majority being men. And so one would think, hey, as I said, part of it might become revealing and revelation, especially for those in our culture who are hiding.
Right.
Yes. And so once that happened now, the woman would now say, hey, especially as though the father's name, and I'm agreeing Mr. One, needs to be on that birth certificate. It would identify exactly who the father is. And it's something that needs to happen without a shadow of a doubt, I believe. That birth certificate have the father's name. I've spoken to too many youngsters, even persons who are getting married, and they're filling out the form. Father's name. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. One, your take on that?
I just want to amplify one of those points a little bit. The placement of a father's name on a birth certificate by law or by regulation will identify the person responsible, but it may not really identify the true biological father. So, there's that a complication. Are we going to be satisfied with the name on there being responsible and getting a benefit, regardless of whether that person is the biological father or not? So that's another kind of issue there. Because then the legal father, by birth certificate, gets a benefit. Then the biological father claims a benefit, and then you have this quagmire, And how does how do you ascertain that this man is the true biological father? All those issues.
So Mr.
Yet I want to put the spin. Legitimate fathers, responsible fathers, those who are truly there, are truly deserving of this. Yet, with all those complicated matters that we just spoke of, is no, I would say, deterring those genuine fathers from getting this benefit, which I think should be given.
Right. Well, Mr. One, what is the role of your organization in all of this going forward? Because you know the concerns out there, and you know the challenges. What has been the role of the JEF in this regard?
Yeah, very good question. One of our big roles is the lobbying for the employer's interest in new labor legislation or regulation that could have an impact on the workplace. So we're a trade union for employers. So we lobby for issues and there to the employers, especially new labor legislation and existing ones that are in question, such as the concept of the IDT. There would like some changes, but we're not successful yet. And the LRIDA, which in some cases needs updating, and we're lobbying for that. There's a task force going on right now. So that's one of our major roles, lobbying for the interest of employers in new legislation, as well as existing ones that need updating.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our role.
Your organization is for this proposed legislation, right?
We are for the concept of paternity leave, but we would want to see the details behind it to ensure that it's equitable. and
No,
share.
what
So
I'm driving at, Mr. One, have you proposed any details in that regard, suggestions? Because you are the people on the ground, you know.
yeah, man. I think the trade union and lots of other civil society groups are the one who initiated it, and we are, generally in support, and we have given feedback as to what some of the things that we would want in place, but we're not driving that. But we are in support of the concept.
Pastor Morrison, the church.
Yes.
How can the
Well,
church?
not the church. Okay, go ahead.
How can the church, Big C, help in this regard?
Well, we must also remember that the church is a part of civil society. If our leaders, like myself, being pastor of a flock, would sit and speak especially to our men to indeed recognize that, listen, nurturing is a part of your role. Being with the child is a part of work. It's not something that I believe should be left alone to the woman, even after the child is born, and we should be there to create a bond from that early stage. And also representing Mogava, Men of God Against. Our team says we exist primarily to mobilize men to play their rightful role in society, especially where fatherhood is concerned. This role of fatherhood, if we as church lobby for men, especially where our men group exists, or in some cases in church where they don't exist, we have to be one of the primary agents in advocating for this to happen. Because I believe it gives our men a sense of value, a sense of, hey, I'm a part of this child's life from early out to ensure that they are part of it. So if the church would teach fatherhood, have sessions in Bible school where I teach, there is a course that is called fatherhood. We speak to the fatherhood of God, but we also declare that your role as father, therefore, must be seen also in the light of how God treats his children. And we are sons. And so it is for the church to now play a wider role in ensuring that we speak to the benefits of fatherhood, yet the responsibility of fatherhood. And if we do that as a church, I believe with all my heart that civil society will look better. Fatherhood would look better. The concerns of having multiplicity of partners would change drastically, and therefore the legislation for paternity leave would become an easier bit of legislation to handle. So I believe the church can play that role in speaking directly to it even further. We're not doing enough now. We definitely need to launch out and do that.
Yeah. Mr. One, final thought?
Thinking it through, naturally there's always a minister who tables legislation. In the case of anti-sexual harassment, it was the former Prime Minister, and now Minister Grange is the one finalizing that. In this case, the Minister Grange would be the natural minister for interest to appeal to, because he's in charge of gender affairs, which normally means female affairs, but
that's
this is male affairs.
Yes, that's
but there's no other minister who would be the right minister to appeal to. So I encourage the interest group to lobby the Minister of Culture, Gender Affairs. I can't remember the full title of the minister, but I think that would be a good point to find someone instead of lobbying without having a point person. I think they should try to, get audience with the Minister of Culture and Gender Affairs.
And Mr. One, I think you have said it correctly, because Mogava, our president, is the co-chair of the mail list, because there is a mail list that has been set up. And I must commend the Honorable Olivia Grange for the work she has done, because as she changed the female list to gender affairs, and she is, I believe, that key person, that pivot that we can speak to, because she's one of those who have arranged different meetings to push this.
Okay, well, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. I want to thank you so very much for joining us this morning. Have a productive day and stay safe.
Thank you, and you too.
Great.
Bless you, Mr. One, bless you.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
You're listening to Love 101 FM. The Fabulous Station is now 7:30 and a half.
I am data hungry. I share pictures of my food on Instagram, but not the actual food itself. I listen to YouTube music all day, and when I'm not, I'm streaming videos all night. Flow has the only prepaid mobile plan with unlimited data for the apps I really want. Real apps like YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, Twitter, and WhatsApp. Real data that I really use.
Get it now. Dial *129*6 number sign to activate your Flow 7-day plan for only $675. Conditions apply.
Easter times are coming and the buns are being baked. So many buns to choose from, but only one to take home. HTV is the one that's got that baked in quality. Full of fruits and raisins, soft and sweet as a bun can be. So when you're buying Easter buns, look out for HTV. That's the one that's got the taste that's guaranteed to please. HTV. Bun.
49 years later and still going strong. Under the Law helps you to know your rights and how the laws of Jamaica can help you defend those rights. The program comes to you on Love 101 FM on Thursdays through the kind sponsorship of the Bank of Jamaica, building an inclusive economy. Under the Law, Thursdays at 6:20 a.m., 2:55, 6:45, and 9:10 p.m. on Love 101 FM.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness wishes to advise the public that effective 10 a.m. on Monday, March 22, persons 75 years and older who wish to be vaccinated must make an appointment before visiting a vaccination site. Appointments can be made by visiting moh.gov.jm or calling 8881-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. You may ask a friend, relative, or healthcare provider to assist you with booking an appointment. Persons are asked to take a government-issued ID or letter from a justice of the peace to the vaccination center. Additionally, vaccination will continue for other priority groups. The ministry thanks the public for their cooperation.
JN Money Card. Send the money. More withdraw in a hurry. JN Money Card free. With your TRN and your ID. And when me no walk with cash, me just swipe like that. From abroad to card. Get the JN Money Card. It's safe, convenient, and free. JN Money Card sent from abroad. JN Money Card.
Available at JN Money locations across Jamaica. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's take a look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, child rights watchdogs aware of pedophilia claims against PNP official. And then, power play. Golden sounds alarm on giving PM sweeping authority under COVID law. We see here cash for lockdowns. Government offering 126 million relief for COVID-19 curfews. Wow. And then in the Observer, you're killing granny and grandpa. Stubborn youngsters spreading COVID-19 to parents, uncles, aunts, and the elderly. And also the House of Parliament gives nod to fines for COVID safety breaches. And then we see 7,000 apply for backyard garden kits. Those are some of the major headlines in our newspapers. Well, coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. What's your view on paternity leave? Leave a comment on our Facebook page, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. Soon come back.
Spiritual, medical, governmental, legal. What are you saying? What are they saying? Join us for Love 101 FM's virtual town hall meeting to discuss the COVID-19 vaccine. Tuesday, March 30 at 7:30 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
You are the buzz, 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 buzz. You are the zing, 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 zing. You are the You are the click, 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 click. You are the pop, pop, pop. You are the I in Jamaica. So keep fizzing for the love of it. Pepsi.
Are you interested in doing domestic days work? We're seeking a mature female days worker to work on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the Spanish Town area. Interested persons, please contact Mrs. Dunkley at 876-566-4402. If you are interested to know someone who is interested in days work, please contact Mrs. Dunkley at 876-566-4402.
This easy. This make me feel safe.
Wow, and it's free.
You spoke, we listened. NCB is making banking easy, safe, free. Bank anytime with our mobile app, easy. Apply for credit cards online for all your shopping needs, safe. Deposit money to NCB accounts and pay your JPS, NWC, Flow and credit card bills free. Visit jncb.com/getdigital for info. Welcome to a better way of banking. Easy, safe, free with NCB.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Well, let's join Shavoni for a look at how our Facebook and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What's your view on paternity leave? Shavoni.
All right, this one says fathers are nurturers. Another one says only one partner should be thought about. The man needs to work out the other relationship. This one says the legit partner, whether common law or legal wife, should be the one to which the father should be given paternity leave. Let me see if there is another one here. This one says totally agree with it. At that time, you need both physical and moral support. Another one says paternity leave is necessary and relevant, but how this be done when how can this be done when men have so many women pregnant? DNA would be the way to go. Some men would be out for up to a year. Okay, I think I get what you're saying there. Let me see. This one says it's a good idea, but some mothers would not benefit from it because the men would take the opportunity to get more babies. Keep the conversation going, folks. That's an interesting.
I hope you don't have any more, Shavon.
No, that's quite a mouthful, I tell you.
Thank you. Thank you, listeners, for the responses. Okay. Well, it has been many years since the laws of the land associated with marijuana have been changed. And among other things, this has resulted in the legal establishment of the cannabis industry, involving men and women from every strata of society. But what are the views of the church in regards to this industry? Should churches enter the industry as an income generator? And if so, why and how? If not, why not? Well, to discuss this controversial issue, we have joining us this morning Mr. Paul Burke, CEO of the Jamaica Ganja Growers and Producers Association, and the Reverend Franklin Small, pastor of the Hanover Street Circuit of Baptist Churches. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi, good morning. And good morning, Reverend. Good morning,
Jamaica.
And good morning to the listeners.
Yes, morning to you both. Well, thanks for joining us. Let me begin with you, Mr. Burke. Please remind us of the major changes in the law years ago in regards to the production and use of cannabis in Jamaica. And why were those changes made?
All right, good morning again. So, I'm the program director, in effect CEO, but my actual title is program director of the Ganja Growers and Producers Association, which was launched in April 2014. So in 2015, 5 major things happened with the amendment to the dangerous drug law. One, we decriminalized small possession, that is anything below 2 ounces, was now a ticketable offense and no longer a criminal offense. Prior to that, anybody held with any amount of ganja was a criminal offense and you therefore had a criminal record. And you also allowed the automatic expungement of all persons who were held with small amounts. That means their criminal records would be revoked, erased. Secondly, it's really thirdly, now, it allowed Rastafari, I know the first time Rastafari was mentioned in any legislation at all, to be able to cultivate ganja for their own sacramental purposes. Fourthly, it allowed each household to grow up to 5 plants for their own therapeutic purposes. They would not be allowed to sell it, but they could inhale it.
How many plants, Mr. Burke?
Up to 5 plants.
Okay.
Each household.
Okay.
Right? And as it was said, for their own therapeutic purposes. And finally, it ushered in a medicinal cannabis industry, which is what the CLA is responsible for today, to license people or companies who are involved in the medicinal cannabis industry.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Reverend Small, from your experience, what has been the general response of the church in Jamaica to these changes in the law in regards to cannabis?
That's a broad thing when you say the church.
Yes.
For me, I'm not too sure I can speak for all the church or so. Or, a matter of fact, not even for my own denomination, but as a personal response, as a pastor. In a sense, in my mind, that kind of quote unquote, if I may say, freedom can be detrimental in a sense. We know the practice traditionally of persons smoking, the Rastas who have rights and also. But our concern and my concern is mainly for our young people in particular, because we know the effect and the impact that it can have on the mind, the lives, and so forth of young people. But we know that ganja has been grown in this country for years, and persons have benefited economically and otherwise for seeing. So in a sense, when it comes to that area of the law, I can have an understanding in that way. But, you know, the smoking and the impact on our young people, I do have some concerns.
So are you concerned about the law as is, the changes that were made? Are you in agreement or disagreement with it?
Well, what can I say? I mean, in a sense, yes, I agree with the laws because of, one, the practice. People make their choices. People do what they want to do. The Rastas in particular, it's their thing, and I support that which they do. It's their choice from their religious perspective, and so. And if I may say, in a past life, I was a part of that, and also I'd used it too. If I
you support the spliff, Pastor?
Yes,
Pastor.
Yes.
I see. Yes. So that is why you are the ambivalence and what I mean. You're not sounding sure to me. Uh-huh.
Yes, you know what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Hold that thought, please. We're going to take a break and be right back.
The time by the Ministry of Health, Healthy People, Healthy Environment is
7:45.
Nation, baby.
Rain or shine, any weather. When we go pool, we go virgin. Quality paint, no faded colors.
When we go bold, we go virgin. Let your imagination run free. Pick a color, any color for the space for you need. When we say it bold, that mean it not be. Quality in every color, 7-year guarantee. When we go bold, we go virgin. What you color? When we go bold, we go virgin. Green or shine, any color you need. When we go bold, we go virgin.
You are the buzz, 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 buzz. You are the zing, 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 zing. You are the. You are the click, click, click. You are the pop, pop, pop. You are the I in Jamaica. So keep fizzing for the love of it. Pepsi.
Are you interested in doing domestic days work? We're seeking a mature female days worker to work on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the Spanish Town area. Interested persons, please contact Mrs. Dunkley at 876-566-4402. If you are interested and know someone who is interested in days work, please call 876-566-4402.
Since the 90s, Grace Kennedy Money Services and Western Union have been connecting families at home and abroad. In the 2000s, we did the same, linking generous senders to grateful receivers. And in the 2010s, reaching people in every nook and cranny. Now in the 2020s, when loved ones are forced to be apart, we're here, keeping you connected. Grace Kennedy Money Services and Western Union. 30 years of helping you connect the dots.
La 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 la! It's your one and only Fluffy Diva, Miss Kitty, aka the Lala Boss, with loads of gifts for you from Digicel. Activate a new 7-day Digicel Prime Barata bundle and get everything you want and more for only $675. Enjoy unlimited YouTube, social media, and local calls. You also get 49 gigabytes for more sports, music, and movies on Digi apps, and 2 gigabytes of any used data. This sound like enough niceness for we.
Get it all when you activate the new 7-day Digicel Prime Barata bundle in the My Digicel app. Limited time offer.
Spiritual, medical, governmental, legal. What are you saying? What are they saying? Join us for Love 101 FM's virtual town hall meeting to discuss the COVID-19 vaccine. Tuesday, March 30 at 7:30 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and we are discussing the matter of the church and the cannabis industry. And in so doing, we have online Reverend Franklin Small, pastor of the Hanover Street Baptist Church, and Mr. Paul Burke of the Jamaica Ganja Growers and Producers Association. Mr. Burke, you heard the pastor speak a while ago about some concerns in regards to the use of marijuana today, especially among the young people. What's your take on that?
All right. Well, I heard Pastor Small very carefully. And in Jamaica, we speak of ganja, not marijuana. So, yes. In terms of the use of ganja, it is widespread, it's prevalent among many young people. And the jury is out as to possible harm it can do for abuse. So I prefer to on the side of caution, and certainly most of us in the Ganja Growers and Producers Association don't support minors using ganja. That's the first thing. Some minors will use it, and there is no harmful effect, and some minors will use it, and it may have a negative impact. Researchers said that the brain can still be in its formative stage up to age 21, and that THC may affect, not necessarily will affect, may affect individuals and the brain at that stage. The jury is out about that. Certainly, as Ganja Growers and Producers Association, we don't encourage the smoking of ganja in public. Certainly, we believe there must be more public education based on facts. Now, there are tremendous medicinal and therapeutic health benefits.
Before you go there, Mr. Burke, I'm sorry. How do you define public in public? If you're at your
Same way with
gate,
tobacco.
in your
Same
in
way
your
with
little
tobacco.
corner, street corner doing it.
No. Well, listen. If you're around people who smoke ganja, although you're in public and you ought not to be smoking in public, the very same laws, and that has been the position of the ganja lobby from 1999, long before the tobacco law was passed, that smoking should not be allowed in public. I can tell you, I had problems going into the stadium because almost anywhere I sat, there was smoke around me. Till I stopped going to the stadium. At one stage, I stopped going to Carib Theatre because of smoking in the theatre. So people really are selfish when they experience their smoke and it impacts on other persons. So I don't believe that we should be allowed to smoke.
But if you're going to err on the side of caution, Mr. Burke, shouldn't you just eliminate smoking altogether of the weed?
No.
Because it has different effect on different people, and you only know when you have taken it.
No.
No?
So some people take aspirin and it's bad for them. You don't ban aspirin. Some people drink one drink of rum and it affects them negatively. You don't ban rum. Right? In the industry, there's a thing called microdosing. That what you should really start is the smallest amount of the substance. And then you know what is your dosage. You don't start big. You start very small. But in fact, I mentioned that there is research that says that the smoking of cannabis or the use of cannabis can impact while the brain is still in its formative state. The jury is out on that, right? And I'm saying I prefer to err on the side of caution in terms of minors using cannabis. But let me make something very clear. People use cannabis in many different ways. Some people use it as topical. Some people ingest. And when they ingest it, they're ingesting THCA and not THC. Right? And there is overwhelming scientific evidence of whether it's THC or THCA or whether it's CBD, the health benefits for the cannabinoid that is found in the cannabis plant. So, for example, I don't smoke. There are many members of the Ganja Growers and Producers Association who don't smoke. But we use ganja.
Okay. Pastor, is it okay for a Christian, a church member, to be smoking ganja?
Well, you know definitely that we, as Christians, we believe, or many of us believe that we don't believe in smoking. So, period. That's all.
You don't believe in smoking?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, and for as a person of faith, we just don't believe in smoking.
Would it be a sin, Pastor, for a Christian to smoke ganja?
Well, I believe it's damaging your temple. It is destroying the temple, and that's the argument I would have used. Why should we do that when we know with all these things in your lungs, it is toxic and so forth? So why destroy the temple, just like with many other things that we make?
Like chewing bubble gum as well. That's it can destroy your stomach.
Well, I mean, that's kind of story.
So may I intervene?
So to speak.
But it's not a sin, Pastor. It's not a sin to smoke.
Intervene as
Or is it a sin? I'll come with you, Mr. Burke. Hey, Pastor, what do you say?
I just want to comment on something that Mr. Burke said, which is possibly important, the young people. Just like how tobacco, there's so much advertisement about tobacco to say, it's dangerous and so forth. I have not seen that about ganja. And I don't know if the cannabis licensing authority would have, or whose responsibility that would be to do such psychoeducation, just like how they do it for tobacco and any other rum and so forth. I have not seen that, and that is one of my concerns about that. Which I kind of wonder why that is so.
All right, Mr. Burke.
Very quickly, there's a historical context to the stigmatization of ganja. But I just want to intervene on before I go there. Pastor, many people use cannabis and have absolutely no harmful effects throughout their life.
That's true. I agree with
one. Thousands and thousands. Secondly, Pastor, alcohol does far more damage. When I say far more, substantially and significantly more damage to individuals than the use of cannabis, the smoking of cannabis.
Empirical evidence goes with that, sir. Mr. Burke?
Right. Yes, there's
empirical evidence for that?
Empirical evidence.
Oh, I've been hearing that, but I don't know what it is.
Right. I can find a Dutch study. Just send me your email after I can send you. Right. And more than one. Thirdly, salt and sugar do far more damage to individuals in this country than cannabis does. And we have not banned salt nor sugar. Right? So many people use cannabis. But let me tell you where the stigmatization of cannabis comes. It has been embedded in our head for years. So as a group, really the Indian community who brought ganja to Jamaica. But as a group, the group that used it most, defended it, and called it the healing of the nation was Rastafari. And of course, society thought them to be mad because they rejected the white European lifestyle. They rejected the Pope. They rejected the Queen. They spoke of a black God. They spoke of His Imperial Majesty as God, Jah. So they had to be mad to many Jamaicans. And they were not willing to conform with what society thought was the right way to live. In other words, they would not cut their hair. So many people say they equated that ganja and Rastafari was what caused Rastafari to have this absurd, lunatic thinking. Right? So then burn the Pope and then burn the Queen. Right? And they had every reason to do so in the context of what was happening in Jamaica. Right? So people said, boy, it must be ganja make them mad. It was a rejection of a colonial lifestyle and European values that many Jamaicans thought was the right way to go. That's where the stigmatization came in.
Okay. But yes, Reverend Small, I just want to know before.
Mr. Burke, I was in that space one time, and I understand all of that with you, because I was in that space one of the time. But
you were once a Rastafarian.
Yeah. For me personally, as a pastor, I have had many friends, young friends, who have been damaged, and even now they still have. I know the argument is sugar and all that sort of stuff, and so which is true. But the amount of properties in ganja, you know, but I know I might not be a medical person, but there are so many things in it, and so on. And how we use it, whether as a depressant or stimulant or whatever the case might be, and we know it reacts in any way with other people. But I think something ought to be said and done with the psychoeducational aspect of ganja. We have had things about sugar and salt and so forth, and tobacco and so, but I have not seen that about ganja in the media or anything like that. You know, just to show you.
Hello?
But there needs to be that psychoeducational aspect about it.
Yes. I want to agree with Reverend Small that we need far more public benefits, education, both on the health benefits and the possible harm.
Okay. We have to leave it there, gentlemen. I have to leave it there. I want to thank you both for joining us. We are totally out of time. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for a discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information on how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been The Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Miss Kathy Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, and you're back to Love in the Morning with Siobhan Blair.
Enjoy Grace Reduced Sodium Corned Beef. Grace